All right, folks, this is Harris Sultan, and I've got a guest with me. Today's episode is a little bit different from our usual episodes because I received an email from this lady in America, and she wanted to share her story, and I thought that it'll be worthwhile for all of you to listen to. So, Joanne, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Joanne, just start a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up? And what was your attitude towards religion? Just tell us a little bit about your early life.
Okay, I am second generation American. My grandparents came from Sicily, and we were Catholic, very Catholic. And I went to Catholic school, and like a lot of Catholics will say, I got the scars to prove it. But it was, I enjoyed my religion, I guess, as a child, and we lived in the Bronx, New York, and it was a great place to grow up. It really was. I lived in an Italian neighborhood, and it was a very safe neighborhood. And because my grandparents came from Italy, um, we were used to immigrants, and we loved immigrants. But I had never in my life met anyone that wasn't Christian. Either they were Christian or Jewish. Growing up in New York City, that's how it was where I grew up. And it was, I had a great childhood. I really did. And
Roughly what decade was that? Was it 80s or the 70s or?
no, it was I was born in 57.
Okay. So it was the 60s. Okay. So that would have been a very different Bronx to what we know of now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you ever saw the movie A Bronx Tale, that's it.
I've seen Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx, though. That's what I've seen.
A Bronx Tale is like very, very close to the way it was when I was growing up.
Right. So you'd say you had a traditional upbringing, Catholic household, Italian Americans, Italian neighborhood, and mostly you had Italians and other Jewish people around you.
Yes.
So what happened after high school? Did you stay in New York? Did you find employment in New York? Did you travel the world around that time? So what happened after that?
Well, growing up, in an Italian family, a girl, you get married. That's what you do. And I did. I got married, and I had a great husband. He really was. Unfortunately, we ended up divorcing after 20 years. But I have nothing bad to say about him at all. It just things didn't work out, and then while we were married, we had moved to Florida, and then we came back. Florida was at that time, it's not like that now, but at that time it was really hard to make a living if you weren't from Florida. They used to have a thing that they used to say, if you're kin, you're in. We weren't kin and we weren't in. So it was very hard to make a living there. But anyway, we came back to New York, and we ended up getting divorced. And now in New York, things were really starting to change. Like there were immigrants coming in, different kind of immigrants, people from other religions, which we weren't used to that, And I never met a Muslim before in my life until I met this Muslim man. And I didn't really know very much about the religion at all. All I knew was something about Muhammad. That was it.
So roughly that was the first time when you noticed immigrants coming in from non-Western countries, because I think it's an important distinction to make, because I see a lot of lefties and the Democrats, they try to muddy the situation by saying that, we're all immigrants, as though immigrant is one blanket term under which you can cover everyone and give everyone a free pass. Obviously, it matters where the immigrants are coming from. So immigration from Western countries, historically, all these Western countries, for example, America and Canada, and to some extent Australia much later on, Initially they had immigrants from Western countries who had some shared values because of which society
Yeah.
could actually evolve without total breakdown. But then in the latter part of the 20th century, when immigrants
Yeah.
started coming in from non-Western countries, from different faiths, that's when things started falling apart. But obviously, we didn't know at that point. So you met a Muslim man. This is around, I'm assuming again. So you were married, and then that marriage lasted for 20 years. So what? So that would be in the 90s or the late 80s, 90s. You met this
In the
man.
90s. In the
So you were,
90s.
and you obviously being an open-minded person, you're like, well, we're all equal. Everyone's fine. What happened then? So you met this guy.
Yeah.
What did he want?
I started selling hot dogs in New York City on the street corners. I had a little hot dog cart, and I just wanted to do something different with my life. Before that, I always worked in like beauty salons doing nails and hair and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted something different. I just wanted something, to change my environment.
Did you sell bagels as well?
No, no, I didn't. I didn't do the morning thing.
Okay,
It
all
was
right.
just like hot dogs and pretzels and soda
Fair
and
enough.
that kind of stuff. And it was a Caribbean parade that we were all covering, and the hot dog people help each other out. And so that's what we were doing all day long. We all had our spots and everything, but we would help each other out if somebody needed ice or whatever. We would help each other. So that's how I met this person. His name was Adil, and he was from Egypt. And I he was I grew up in a real old fashioned way. And so I kind of liked him as we started talking and getting to know each other, because he had old fashioned values too. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke. I mean, when I say smoke, I mean, marijuana and stuff like that. And he loved God, and I didn't know that according to him, he said that he was worshiping the same God I was, you know. And I know all the Bible stories. I knew, like about where the well, they weren't Muslims then, but the Arabs, you know, fit into the religion, the Christian religion, and the Judeo-Christian religion. So I was open to it. I really was, and I actually married him in a mosque. It was only a religious ceremony. We never married legally, because I had this thing. I was never going to, to me, I was not going to make someone become an American citizen by marrying him. I just felt that, you know, I wanted to be married to, I wanted to know him first very well before I did that.
So
But,
how long
we did get,
before? So how long before you actually get married in the mosque? Before knowing him.
it wasn't a long time. It was probably like 6 or 7 months.
Okay. So you dated for about 6 months. Um, you didn't convert. You didn't officially convert to Islam. Did you dig up
No.
a little bit more about Islam, or you were satisfied with his explanation that, hey, look, we've got the same God and we're pretty much the same thing?
Well, him and his cousins, like there was like 2,500 people working in the hot dog industry in Manhattan that came from his area in Egypt.
Right.
So I was a big help to them, because I helped a lot of them with paperwork. I can't tell you how many people I taught how to drive a car. Just like I really helped them a lot, and they respected me, and I respected them. And
So,
so it
but you
was
don't
it,
think? But you sorry to interject. Just so we understand correctly. So, do you think there was a genuine relationship on his part as well, or it was just because you were useful? It was just a marriage of convenience, and maybe he was looking to become an American citizen. Did you
I
think?
I think I think that he did care for me, but I
Okay.
don't believe that he loved me.
Okay.
I think that he respected me and he cared for me, but he didn't love me the way a man should love a woman.
Right.
A wife.
But then,
But at first I didn't realize that.
okay. But then he
And
still went
then
ahead with, but he still went ahead with marriage, because I'll tell you a little bit about this dilemma of a lot of Muslim men. So it's true, a lot of Muslim men may not want to engage in any intimate relationship before marriage because it is still considered zina, which is a pretty serious sin in Islam. So what they do is that even if they don't love the person, but they want someone to be intimate with, they just say, well, we'll just do a nikah, which is just a marriage. And you might have heard of some temporary marriages as well, like the one that Muhammad
Yeah,
hijab in
and
Britain.
I didn't understand that when it
Of
was
course,
happening.
of course.
I had no idea about that.
So
I
do you
wouldn't have
think
went
that's
through
what
with
he
it.
was doing? Like
Yeah,
just
he did.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I didn't know that then, but I found out later on.
okay,
I
okay, yeah.
didn't even understand really what happened. We went to a mosque. They were all speaking Arabic. You know what I mean? And, the man said these words over us and we were married. And I was like, wait a minute, wait. Don't we walk down an aisle? It was like nothing like what I was used to,
Did you have your
so
family present there? Did you have your family
no,
members?
no,
So it was just
no.
you and his friends and family.
Yeah, my family was not like very, they weren't really convinced about this relationship, you know? Although I do have to say one thing, he was good to me. He truly was good to me.
Mm.
It's just
He wasn't
the
abusive or anything.
outside stuff. Say that again. I'm sorry.
So he wasn't abusive or anything. And as we said, that
No, no,
he
no, no,
didn't
no,
love
no.
you, but it was just a marriage of convenience. Things were working out for him. And he said, well, why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
but
All right.
that's not the way it was told to me.
Okay. Of course, you
So
as a woman,
anyway,
you would want a full commitment from someone if you're
yeah,
going to get married.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So how did that relationship progress after that? After you got married in a mosque?
We worked hard. We worked together we had a lot of spots and a lot of different hot dog carts. And so it was hard work and we worked really hard. And there was pretty decent money to be made. And I started to see the things that they did to one another. And it was like, wow, this is like really evil. I
Like
mean, the
what?
things that I saw them in business and stuff like that, it was like for instance, one of the spots that he bought a spot from his uncle, and it was supposed to be for $25,000. And I'm like, are you crazy? You're buying a piece of property that doesn't belong to him. He doesn't own New York City.
True.
But in like the law of the hot dogs is that if you have a spot, nobody else can go on that spot.
Kind of like a
So he
turf war.
wanted this.
It's like a mafia. It's a bit of a mafia turf war kind of
Exactly.
thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So he did buy it from his uncle for $25,000. He paid it off, and to make sure that everything was legit, he would make me go and make the payment every month until it was paid off. So that he had a witness that he was giving the money to his uncle to pay this spot off. And after it was all paid off, the uncle said, "What are you talking about? You didn't buy this. You're renting it."
Shafted him.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Like I just was like so shocked, you know?
Right.
And then I started to really see the way that they would handle with each other and the things that they would do, and the fighting that would go on and the crazy things they would do. They would, make false reports against each other. False reports. I mean, these are police reports. And I would tell them, you don't understand. You go to jail for that. You can't do that. But they just had their own way of doing things. And,
That's a third world culture.
and then all of a
I know a
sudden,
lot of Pakistanis I've seen a lot of Pakistanis do that too. So it must be a third world thing because in their home countries, in third world countries, the police is corrupt, the judiciary is corrupt, everything is corrupt, and I don't know how that system works, and probably it doesn't work. That's why those countries are third world countries. So you bribe people, you hire fake witnesses to go and give evidence on your behalf. So that's a very third worldly behavior, and as I said, like I've seen that here in Australia. So that's probably what's happening. And when you bring in people, this is why I say this statement is such a true statement that when you import the third world, you become the third world because these people have their own cultural values, they have their own upbringing, and then that's the only way they know how to get things done. They didn't grow up in an American or or another developed country, so they don't
Mhm.
know how things work there, and they try to cut corners. So nothing surprising here for me, but it must have been surprising for you.
It was. And well, listen, I'm Italian.
Oh yeah, Italians have their own little things too, but Italians kind of.
yeah,
But you
but
guys got left behind. Like I think you started changing back in the 20s and the 30s when the first Italians came.
yeah. And also, you didn't do that to family. And they
Oh
were
yeah,
doing that to family. You know
fair,
what I mean?
fair point.
So, like, it just was really shocking to me. He disappeared for 3 days one time. Nobody knew where he was. It ended up that he was actually in jail because they, you know, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the whole story is, but he ended up going to jail because they were maneuvering to steal a spot from somebody, and whatever they did to do that, it was illegal, and he ended up getting arrested. And you know, I went.
Okay,
I had to go through all kinds of stuff to get him out of there. It
right,
was it was terrible.
right.
And then all of a sudden now he starts telling me, I don't want you to come into Manhattan. Stay home. Stay in Rockland, upstate,
Right.
because something bad is going to happen. And when he said that to me, I'm thinking, well, that's their shenanigans that they're doing to one another. That's what I'm thinking. And then
Mm.
9/11 happened,
Wow.
and that's what they were talking about. That's what he was saying. They all knew that something was going to happen. They just didn't know who, what, where, when. So, like,
Could have been a
and at the
coincidence.
time,
I mean, it could have been a coincidence. Maybe did you?
no,
It
it
seems
wasn't
too big
coincidence.
for some small timer to know that something's gonna happen.
No, in fact, later on, when I spoke to Homeland Security about it, they said, yeah, they all knew, but like you said, like I said before, they knew that something was going to happen. There was a lot of chatter,
Mm,
and they definitely knew something was going to happen. And I don't know what exactly
fair
happened. I
enough.
don't know what how much the government knew about that or whatever. I don't know,
I don't know
but I
either.
know that they heard that something big is coming, really big. And I'll never forget that day as long as I live. Because, like,
So what was your
oh, it was
reaction? So
just,
when you saw the second plane hit the second building, what was your reaction? Obviously, your jaw would have dropped, and you had just heard these rumors from this guy that something big is going to happen, and then obviously, your mind would have been going ding, ding, ding. He said that. How did he know this? This is
exactly.
big. So why? So when did you call Homeland Security?
Okay. I didn't call them right away because I had nothing to give them.
Right.
Somebody said that something's going to happen. What,
That's not good
like,
enough. Yeah.
yeah. So, but, the thing is that, like, they, okay, let me tell you what happened. He wasn't able to get home right away because nothing was going in or out of Manhattan.
My dad
So
was
he
there at
couldn't,
that time, so he told me, like, he was on
yes,
the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge, and he said, yeah, it was total gridlock everywhere, and he was in total shock. But he hadn't heard anything at that point. Like he had a Pakistani grocery store in Coney Island at that
hmm
point. But he hadn't heard anything. Like he was totally in shock. So I mean, Egyptians knew it. I don't know. Like so maybe some Arabs might have known. It's fascinating to think about. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm watching this on TV. I'm watching people jumping out of the buildings. Like, it was horrific, really
Mm.
horrific. And then he finally gets home, and he's sitting with a bunch of his friends and stuff like that. And I walk in the room, and I see them, and they're all laughing about people jumping out of the buildings, and they're laughing at you know this horrific scene
Mm.
that is happening. And I just, like, kind of freaked out when I saw them laughing. I was just like, you know what? Like, you guys better never ask me for anything again, because I am so done with
Mm.
this. I am so done.
Did you confront him
And
at that point?
I wasn't, no, I didn't feel afraid. I think that, like, this is funny, but because I did come from Italian background, and you know there was mafia in my family, they were a little afraid of me. So they were very cautious over anything between, they were very good to me. Let's put it that way. But then what happened was, it was probably a week after 9/11 happened. And I went to work with him one day on the hot dog cart, and some man shows up at the cart. And I was just sitting there spending the day with him. I was reading the newspaper, sitting in the car, and he was standing at the hot dog cart. And some guy comes over, and he starts like speaking to Adil in Arabic. And I could tell that they're talking about America, Amerik, Amerik, and I could catch one word here and there, words that I learned. And the guy looked at me, and I'll tell you, if looks could kill, I would have been dead. The hate, when this man looked at me, I was just like, oh, I felt it, and
Daggers. You saw the daggers
yeah,
coming out of his. Yeah, right.
yeah. And I was after, and they were arguing. Adil was actually arguing with this guy, and I'm like, Adil, do you want me to call the cop? What should I do? And he goes, no, just stay in the car. Don't get out of the car. So they were like for an hour going at it. And then the guy disappeared. And later on, when we went back to the garage where you keep the hot dog carts and you store them for the night and everything, all the other Arabs, this man had visited them also. And he said to me, he goes, the guy is like an Osama bin Laden. That's what he told me. He said he's trying to get people to like train for terrorism. And I was like, well, you need to stay away from this person. You need to stay far away from this person. And he goes, I know, don't worry, And I never heard anything else about this man again for quite a while. Maybe it was about 7-8 months after 9/11 happened. And I get this frantic phone call from Adil, and he says to me, Homeland Security is taking me away. Help me. And I don't know what is going on. Well, I find out that he had 2 cases with immigration with one set of fingerprints. And so he did enter the country illegally. He married some woman and got a green card. And this is stuff that like I didn't even know. He got the green card, and the guy that he bought the spot from, and said that he, still owed him money and had to pay him. He wouldn't pay him.
Yeah,
right. So that guy went to Homeland Security and told Homeland Security, hey, you need to look at this guy. He's here illegally, and he's got 2 sets. He's been, put in jail more than once over immigration issues and blah, blah, blah.
On his own nephew.
Yes.
He was his real uncle?
Yeah, he was. He was
wow.
his real uncle.
Okay, that's pretty low. Like, I mean, nobody does that in Pakistan either. You leave your family alone.
Well, they didn't leave for the family alone. Well, because the guy felt that because Adel wasn't giving him money anymore for the spot,
and he
felt that he had the right to do that. But he had already given him $25,000.
Yeah, but human greed has no limit, so he probably wanted more, maybe.
Exactly.
So, okay, so what happened to him? So he ratted him out, and Homeland Security looked into him. He had committed some immigration fraud. He had married another American woman to obtain a green card, and then he moved on to you, and then this happened. So what happened after that?
He never ended up coming out.
And a key point, he had a soft spot for the terrorists. He was that in-between Muslim who would laugh at the victims of 9/11 terrorist attacks. However, he would not actively take part in that. This is where we say that, okay, so the moderate Muslim is, I won't do anything, but the radical Muslim will do it to you. So he was that Muslim.
Well, I'm not finished with that part of the story.
Okay, all right, okay. It's going to get worse then.
Okay. They came, they took him, they put him in jail.
Okay.
And you couldn't get like a bail bondsman, forget it. Nobody would put up, they wouldn't do it.
Good.
So, and they wanted something like $50,000, and
Good.
We couldn't raise it. And one day I'm sitting in my house and I see a light blinking, and I had a telephone answering machine, which I never really listened to because, everybody had started having cell phones then.
Right.
And so it was just up there, and I see that it's blinking because there's a message on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up there and I go to listen to the message, and I hear Adil. Okay. He's running. I hear him running, and I hear something like it sounded like pop, 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 like a gun.
No way.
Yeah. And I hear other people saying, I shot you. You're dead. You're dead. Like this. And I'm like, what the freak is this? I'm like, I must have listened to it like 20 times. I'm like, what is going on here?
That's evidence.
So he did go with that man, and he was training. I don't believe that he was doing it because he was going to actually do something like that. But from what I understand, that guy said to him, I know your family back in Egypt.
Right.
I know, and so you do what I tell you to do, or there's going to be problems over there.
Was getting
and
blackmailed.
I heard from
But how did he get out of jail,
right.
though? So did they
He
get
never
bailing
did.
out? So where did
He never did.
No, but
He
then
ended up getting deported.
No, but then where was he getting shot at? So was he calling you from Egypt?
No, this happened before he actually went into the jail. The thing, the cabinet that I had,
right?
Yeah, it was up high, and I didn't, I just never looked at it,
Right.
So, and when I then I'm starting to put like all this stuff together in my mind, and I thought about so many different things. Like, I mean, so many of his cousins, they married American girls. This one cousin married a girl that, she was a nice girl, Italian girl. And he had said to her, when I finally get my green card, I want to go home for 1 month for each year that I've been here to visit my family. And the day that he was leaving to go to Egypt, I drove them to the airport. And I don't know if you're going to believe this or not, but
I believe it.
I'm listening to them talking in the back, and I don't know how, but I understood what they were saying. And they were saying that he was going home to get married.
Oh yeah.
But his American wife had no idea about that.
Mm.
And when we actually got home, and I was talking to Adil, and he said, you didn't hear that, you don't know what you heard, and because he didn't want to admit that to
happens
me.
all the time. This is so common. Like, I believe you straight away. It happens all the time.
But listen to what happened. He gets there, the cousin, right? And he was playing football with his cousins in Egypt there. And it was the day before he had this wedding planned for some girl that they had over there that he was going to marry. And he dropped down dead of a heart attack.
Oh, how old was he?
He was a young guy. He was like in his 20s, late 20s.
Mm.
And he just, and I was like, whoa. Like, I said to Adil, I remember saying at that time, you just don't do that to people and think you can get away with that kind of stuff. It's mean. It's horrible to do that to both girls.
Of course.
But
him dying is a coincidence. Like, I mean, I'll put my atheist hat on, but.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Okay.
But, it was like all that kind of stuff constantly that I saw with them, so like I started to realize that we're screwed. I mean, as Americans, and you get involved with this mindset, unless you totally, turn and become a Muslim, because, okay, they'll marry you because you're of the book, right? Okay. They'll marry you because you're of the book, but you'll never be really accepted by their family or anything unless you convert to Islam.
Yeah. Even then.
And they would take.
Even when you convert to Islam, even then they will not be happy until you have fully changed, dropped everything of your past. You have to dress like them. You have to act like them. You have to, stop celebrating Christmas. There will always be demands after demands. And even then you'd be like, well, hang on a second. How much more of myself I have to give up before I am accepted as an equal member of the family? And I just say to that, Why? What's the point? Can't you find other people in your own community?
Exactly. I mean,
So,
and
so
that's why I'm here today, because American women need to hear this.
absolutely.
I mean, so many times I've been told, well, that was your experience. No,
It's
that's not
exclusive.
only my
Oh
experience.
yeah, absolutely.
Like that's going to be the majority of experiences with Muslim men. I mean, unless you're ready to make that turn. And like, I don't know about like, and then when I heard about the female, you know uh that they cut females down there, I could just imagine being a mother and somebody comes to do that to my daughter. I'd be like crazy. And so many things. I mean, the one sister was getting married, and she used to call me and beg me, because they had decided that she had to marry this guy, all right, who looked like the missing link. And
Like Alita.
and the poor kid, she didn't want to marry this guy, and she
Yeah.
would call me and she would say, Joanna, they used to call me, please help me, turn my brother's mind, please, please. And I did my very best, but there was no turning it, because he made good money and he was good with the religion. That was it.
But isn't that
And
hypocritical? Like, I mean, you could have asked him, like, isn't that hypocritical that you have married a white woman or a European Christian, but your sister is not allowed to marry someone in her own community of her own choice? Isn't that a bit hypocritical?
I did, believe me, I said everything, but there was no
Yeah.
turning it,
Yeah.
because the guy had money, you know what I mean, and
That's enough.
his father was a imam or something like that. They used to bring me to the imam all the time, to try, and the imam would do his best to try to, like, we would start debating, you know what I
Mm.
mean, about the two religions. And I'll never forget one time this imam says to Adil, he says, forget about her. She's totally convinced in what she believes in. Forget it. You're never going to change her mind. And
Because he had also tried that on you.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. He tried really hard to make me turn, but
but did you learn a lot about
like,
Islam, or did you just know more about your own faith? Because a lot of unsuspecting women, I actually made this video about a year and a half ago, probably 2 years ago. Why do Western women convert to Islam? 3 reasons why Western women convert to Islam. So most of the time that I've seen, people convert to Islam, or women convert to Islam over romantic reasons. Usually it's women who fall in love with a Muslim man, and the Muslim man says, oh, like, in order for you to be accepted by my family, you have to convert to Islam. We have to go to a mosque. If you don't believe in it, who cares? But just convert to Islam. And then a lot of women, they do that. So it probably comes from the fact that they themselves are not that firm in their own faith, because Christianity has been weakening over the last few decades. So they say, well, I don't believe in Christianity anyway, or I'm not that firm on that anyway. So what if I just convert to Islam? The biggest proof of that is when that relationship falls apart, most of those women now, because they've grown, they've lived an experience that they did not anticipate, they just say, oh my God, I've just been through hell now. That's when they come out. And I'm actually shocked at why we don't have more white ex-Muslim women coming out. I think we only have 2. I don't know if you're familiar with Abdullah Sam's wife, and there's another lady, Ellie, from London. She's a white ex-Muslim. We should have a lot more of these ex-Muslim women to come out and share their stories. I know you technically can't be called an ex-Muslim because you never let go of your faith, or you never formally converted to it. But you were borderline. You were there. Like, you did go into that culture. You did marry a Muslim man as per his own traditions and culture. But it's a cautionary tale, I think, for a lot of young women these days.
well, I think one thing for me, and maybe a lot of women that think like I do, is that like, I wasn't a Catholic when I married him. I was a Christian. I switched. And
Okay.
when I became a Christian, I learned a lot about Christianity.
Wow.
In
That's
the
probably why.
Catholic religion, they don't teach you that much, but in the Christian religion, they do. Yeah. And so, I learned a lot about my own faith. And then, when I saw how they were trying to like twist it, and that they were part of what, the Judeo-Christian religion, but it didn't fit. It, like to me, from what I could, from what I read and from what I saw in the Bible and everything, what they were saying didn't fit. It didn't make sense. So there was no way that I was ever going to change that. But in the beginning, when I first met him and I didn't know anything about Islam, and like I had said to him, I don't, because like you said about him, that he doesn't want to have sex outside of marriage, neither did I. And I had said to him, I don't believe in sex outside of marriage. And he said to me, well, that's your right. You're a woman and you have that right. And I was like, whoa, that's like something that an American guy never says. You know what I mean? Like I tell you, that swayed me towards him, because, it made me feel like, okay, well, at least he appreciates the fact that, I don't want to do that outside of marriage, and it was attractive to me. But then once I really started, I learned a lot about Islam, because they taught me a lot. They always, that's one thing I have to say about Muslim men. They talk about God and they talk about their religion a lot. And so I learned a lot about what they believe and what they, about things that Muhammad said and did, so I did learn a lot. And, but when I saw that, like, the horrible things that they did to each other, that they did to women that they married, the way that they,
even to their own women, like the sisters and the women of their own culture.
Yeah.
And again,
and that genitalia thing, that just really freaked me out. I mean, because I've read a lot about that. That really mutilates their life.
Oh yeah.
It's terrible.
The worst part is it is done, at least with men. With male circumcision, the argument is built around hygiene, but with girls, their argument is so that she does not enjoy sex too much. I mean, it is designed specifically to suck the joy out of her life. So I want to be fair to him. So it doesn't seem like he was a bad guy. He was just a product of his culture, and that is a cautionary tale for everyone, that even if you run into a good person, because there are good and bad people in every culture, but look at it, that even the good people, because it comes from a civilization that has been at odds with Western civilization for the last 1400 years, at the base of it, ultimately, it's Islam versus the West. That's what it is. That's why they have different goals. They have different civilizational goals. And unfortunately, the West is antithetical to their worldview, which is why I say that even if someone is a good person, a good Muslim, they can never adopt the West unless they let go of their previous allegiances or cultural beliefs or whatnot. They will always be waiting for the moment. And this is why I always say, like, all these moderate Muslims who don't speak up against these Islamists, who don't condemn them, it's because their allegiances they still lie with the Muslim brethren. And it's a wake-up call for the West. How many more of these people you're going to keep importing? Now, again, I'm not saying everyone is like that. Of course, there will be some individuals who probably don't care. But when the push comes to shove, they will pick their own culture, their own community members.
Absolutely. And I mean, I heard them talk about that, Islam will dominate the world, and that is their goal. That definitely is their goal. And even though probably more Muslims don't, are not that concerned about that, but the fact is that when that starts happening, those that don't want to do it, they're going to have to.
Exactly.
To survive.
Otherwise, they'll be killed off. Otherwise, they'll be killed off by by these radicalisms.
Right.
They will be forced to make a choice. And this is why we see that people, especially Britain is a test case for this. This is why we see in Britain people, these modern, moderate lipstick Muslims, I like to call them, even they're not happy. They never pick anything that is what we call traditional British value-based system. Like they're always looking at all these geopolitical issues from the lens of Islam versus the West. How is it good for my Muslim community? For this Israel Hamas or this Israel Palestine conflict is a test case of that too.
Yeah, and if we don't start to realize that now, I mean, what's their whole goal? To have a lot of children and outvote us.
Yeah.
And when we're here having 1.5 kids, they're having 5 and 6 and 7.
That your
and those
taxpayers
kids
are funding it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the ultimate travesty of that.
And the thing that really gets me more than anything is that very, very liberal people think that it's their job to fight their cause. But they don't realize, or they don't want to realize, because I don't understand how they don't understand it now. But they're the first ones that are going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are going to be destroyed and killed, thrown off of buildings or whatever. You know what I mean? When all this happens, I mean, what is wrong with them? Why don't they see that?
It's because they have this status quo bias, because they've been going off in their own trajectory, which was to challenge the Western status quo, which is so they see it through the lens of progressive politics versus conservative politics, and whatever the conservatives say to them, whether that's about geopolitical issues, Native American issues, or how to deal with immigrants or third world, they look at every issue through the lens of us progressives versus conservatives, and whatever the conservatives say, they have to go the opposite way. And as you said, they don't realize in the process they are acting like useful idiots, because Islam is not looking at it from the lens of progressives versus conservatism, because Islamic doctrine itself. Look at all these traditional radical Muslims, or even moderate Muslims. They are right-wing. They are ultimate right-wing. They don't like LGBTQ. They don't like any progressive values that these progressives of the West preach. They don't hold any of those values. But because they look at it through the lens of, Muslims, immigrants, minority versus mainstream conservative American society, therefore we're just going to go against them. And it's sad, because in the process they're actually destroying something which I always say is the greatest civilization humanity has ever come up with. And it's heartbreaking to see this decay happening right before our eyes. America, I hope, is still safe, and it's the most important country in the Western world. But look at what's happening in Britain. Let's just wrap it up, Joanne. So he got deported. What happened after that? Did you try to bring him back, or how? Because that must have been a traumatic experience for you as well.
It was very traumatic for me. I felt very, very sad for him, because he worked really hard while he was here, and he lost everything, once he got deported.
Because
I didn't try to bring him back, because once he got over there, his family just had all kinds of, plans for him. They had a girl for him to marry, and they, all these things. And I was okay with that. I was already beyond childbearing. I'm sorry?
Was he okay with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was. He was ready to.
Move
I mean,
on.
don't get me wrong. We still talk, and he'll always say to me, "Is there any? Do you think I should come with all the the immigrants that were coming while Biden was in office?" And I said to him, once Trump gets in, which I'm sure he's going to get in, he's going to kick you the heck out of here. So it's up to you, because it would cost him $20,000-$30,000 to be able to come here. That's what they have to pay people to bring them here and get them here and all that kind of stuff.
And I'm assuming he's not that young anymore either, so it's pretty difficult to go through that.
And he did get married over there, and he does have children there, and he's happy, and I'm happy for him. But my main thing is that I want American people to understand that you know, their plan, this caliphate that they're planning, they're very serious about it. They're not joking. They're going to do this if we allow them to do it. So open your eyes and wake up, because this is real. And please, people, don't take my word for it. Do your study. Go look at it and go look and see what people are saying. They're telling us that they want to do this. They're telling us. They're saying it. They believe that's part of what they believe in their religion, and they believe that it has to happen. So the only way it's not going to happen here is if we stop them. But I don't know about the rest of the world. And once they do take over the rest of the world, I don't know where we're going to be in all of that. You know, so, you know, we need to stop it now. Unless, you know, people want to live under Sharia law. That's an awful way to live for everybody, you know, mostly for women and children.
And apostates,
you know, and
people like me. That's why that's what motivates me to speak up against them.
And, you know, one thing that I noticed too, and I don't know, you know, many Muslim men that I have spoken to were sexually assaulted as children.
Oh yeah, happens a lot. You Catholic, very quickly, you think those that
it's like they're on the same level. I mean,
yeah, near it.
Bad. Yeah. And I would be like, well, you know, like, why is that happening? Because the women can't have sex, you know, unless they get married. And you have young men growing up that want to experience this. So, you know, that they take advantage of little boys. I mean, it's a horrible thing.
Yeah, it's usually the imams do it at the mosque. And again, the reasons behind it are pretty similar to what we witnessed in the 90s in the Catholic Church. Is, okay, they don't have access to girls or women. They have access to all these young boys who are from the ages of 5 till 12, 13. So these madrasas, these religious schools, they sleep over there. They stay with them. They are 100% in the care of this supposedly pious man who's a man of God. How can he do anything wrong? And parents would leave them there. In all these poorer countries. So yeah, I mean, this is a crime on a monumental scale. On my Urdu channel, I've been telling Pakistani parents, please don't do it. In Pakistan, it's so the numbers are literally in tens of thousands. So many people, so many kids have actually spoken to me about this experience, and it's horrible. You're right on the money. At least in the West, at least in the Christian world, they acknowledged it. Initially, they tried to cover it up, but they acknowledged it, and obviously, and they punished a lot of people. So I'm assuming it has gone down a lot now, but no, it's in full swing in the Muslim world.
And the other thing that you know, the hatred towards Jewish people and Christians too, but more Jewish right at this point. And it's so intense. I mean, we had Arab TV, and I can't tell you how many movies that I watched about the evil Jewish man that paid a bad Muslim to go get children so he could kill them and drink their blood. I mean, and, you know, so many movies like that, you know, and Adel hated Jewish people, but he never even met one till he came to America, because in Egypt, you know, that Abdul Nasser, he kicked them all out, all the Jewish people out, yeah. Right? So, you know, like, he never met a Jew till he came here. And the funny thing was, he had like a school, a Jewish school. It wasn't a religious school, but most of the people that went to that school was Jewish. And it was near where his spot was. And the woman came and asked him to, you know, she was going to have a party, and she wanted him to supply all the food and the drinks. And he was out there playing with these kids all day long. He loved one thing I have to say, Muslim men, they love children. They're good with kids. And that's what he was doing all day. He was playing with these kids. And I said to him, do you know that you've been playing with Jewish children all day long? No. And I was like, yes, you were. Yeah. You know, like, it was.
As I said, these people are victims. These people are victims of their own cultures and their childhood indoctrination and whatnot. But again, that's no excuse for the West to drop the ball and let them come and do whatever they want to do. Joanne, let's wrap this up. And finally, what message would you like to give to young women, to young Western women, about falling in love with a Muslim man? Now, again, I don't want to demonize Muslim men. I personally know a couple of really good love stories. Or Western women having really long, successful marriages with their Muslim counterparts. But still, what message would you give to young Western women?
Well, I think the first thing is don't marry a man to help him to get a green card to stay here. If he's seeking that more than anything else, don't go there. And then after that, it is like, do your homework and make sure, that what is his real intentions. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, I saw some too. I saw a few families that were, half, and they did very well. And it was a loving family. It can happen. I'm not going to say that it doesn't.
It has to be.
It has to be about love.
Yeah.
Right. Real love.
Just like any other relationship. Like you wouldn't just marry just because, it's convenient or whatnot. It has to be real love. And I think when it's real love, you know that it's real love. When you're doubting and you're not so sure about it, why are you risking it?
And also, like, keep your eye open and your ears open and listen and, know what's going on around you. Know, like, what are they talking about? What, what is really, really happening here, and, I guess the bottom line is just like really, really, really keep your eyes open and make sure that you know exactly what the true intent is. And there are going to be. Yeah.
And be educated about your own self. Because like in your case, you're one of the very few women who was not enticed or even think about converting to Islam because you knew about your own faith. You knew where you stood, and you were in a position to compare with whatever they were telling you about Islam. You could compare that with your own faith, and you could say, "Hang on a second, let me make an informed decision. I like Jesus more than Muhammad." So
yes.
So I don't know young women these days whether they're that educated about Christianity or not. It's not necessarily about Christianity because a lot of young people they're not that educated about their background. But whatever that is, I would say never change your don't let go of your identity just because you've fallen in love with someone.
Exactly.
I mean, it's your identity.
One thing I want to say real quick. I wore hijab and the whole garb for a whole week. I just wanted to experience it.
How was that experience?
And I was absolutely like invisible.
How did you feel?
I didn't exist.
So
that's how. Yeah.
Because
nobody looked at me.
Because sometimes people say that I want to disappear. I don't want to be seen. So sometimes people say that, but doing that as a duty every single day for the rest of your life, I don't know. I think that would be pretty suffocating. How did you feel about it?
I did. I felt like I was invisible. Nobody could see me, and it wasn't that I had to be noticed, but like I became so unimportant. And I think that a woman is an important part of our society. There's a lot that she is responsible for and things that she does. Even if she's a stay-at-home mom, which I think is one of the most important jobs that there is, but she totally becomes so unimportant and so nobody notices her. She's the last person that they think about.
Also become one-dimensional, as if the entire purpose of your existence is to raise kids or be a wife. Whereas, as you said, it's an important role, but that's not all who you are. You're a living, breathing human being. You have other dreams and goals and responsibilities as well.
And important things that you could bring to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
was that a hijab or the full burqa as well, or a nikah?
The face was open.
Okay.
Those women, their face was open.
Right. Okay. Well,
but their hair was covered.
on that note, thank you very much, Joanna, for doing this interview. I'm sure that that would be very useful for a lot of people. I hope a lot of young women watch this. I also hope a lot of other men watch this. A lot of liberal people watch it. People who are still somewhat umming and ahhing about this threat, or people who do not take this threat seriously. As I said, it doesn't mean you have to be racist or a bigot. It's not a race issue. It's not a bigotry issue. It's an ideological issue. Just as you would be opposed to fascism or communism or any other ism, Islamism is just any other ism, which could take away your way of life. And as I always say, it could jeopardize the existence of, I have to say, it's the greatest civilization humanity has ever come up with. It took us to the moon and probably beyond. It'd be a shame if we just didn't pay enough attention to what's happening around us. It's not personal, as I said. It's just purely ideological. Human beings are ideological creatures. We tend to work towards what we see fit, what we see is best. And Islamists are doing God's work in their eyes. So they're doing a good thing. Yeah, they're doing their duty. So anyway, thank you very much, Joanna, for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I think other people you should speak with other people as well. I think this is a very important tale that even someone America was so kind to, he was making a good living. Even then, he was such a victim of his own culture that he was somewhat happy about people dying, falling to their deaths. I think that was the most crucial element of that.
That really, that really got me. It really did.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now.